السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بداية أتقدم بالشكر الجزيل للجنة التنظيمية واللجنة العلمية وجميع أعضاء مركز أثيل للدراسات العلمية والأبحاث الاجتماعية الذين ساهموا بشكل كبير في إنجاح هذه الدورة التكوينية الدولية المتميزة. شكرا لجميع المتدخلين والمتابعين في المنصة وقنوات البث المباشر. سأقدم مداخلة باللغة الإنجليزية، لذلك أنا مضطر لتغيير اللغة. Good evening everyone. First, I want to thank the organizing committee, the scientific committee, the participants and the audience for their efforts to make this training a successful event. To introduce myself, I can say that I am a PhD student at the Faculty of Language, Letters and Arts at Ibn Tufayl University in Canada. I graduated from a master program in Women's and Gender Studies, and I have a BA in Cultural Studies and an Applied Linguistics BA from Sidi Hmad BENAISSA, and the second from Moulay Ismail University. I am a member of different research groups and institutions. I participated in many national and international conferences with oral presentations. As you can see in the picture, here are some samples of my research that were transformed into published books. Throughout this presentation, I will share with you few ideas related to some important elements from scientific research. It is a short introduction to an article titled Research Design and Methodology, Mixed Approach, Validity, Reliability, Data Collection and Research in Letters and Human Sciences. You will find more details when Athil Center publishes the paper soon. Throughout this presentation, I will discuss some issues related to research design, quantitative approach, variables, qualitative approach, mixed approach, population, sampling, procedures and instruments, and some data collection procedures or obstacles. This paper aims at exploring research design and different approaches or research methodologies. Let us start by providing a short definition of research, which generally refers to the scientific examination of knowledge or relevant data on a specific topic through standardized efforts according to Kotari. A good quality research paper typically is based on solid methodology. A study could have fruitful outcomes if it depends on a suitable theoretical framework that is associated with the scientific methods and well-designed data collection instruments. Charles Tidley and Abbas Tashakuri introduced research methodology as a good logical attitude to systematic investigation, which forms research questions and answers. What is a research design? It is a strategy for systematic steps to examine hypotheses. Research designs are planned and the procedures for research that span the decisions from broad assumptions to detailed methods of data collection and analysis, as Creswell Jones states. The research results ought to be the outcomes of a research design or a scientific process that includes the adopted research approach, sampling procedures, data collection instruments, methods and analysis, and interpretation. For Alex Edmonds and Kennedy Thomas, the design should indicate the research period, the data collection, procedures and methods, the place of the study, the population and the sample. For example, The period could be between 2022 and 2023. The procedures and the methods. For example, the steps that the researcher uses to collect data. An example of the place, for example, let's choose the city of Casablanca. For the population, we can choose working people in Casablanca. The sample will be people working in Yazaki. The quantitative approach stands for using measurable research methods or collecting research data and identifying relationships between numbers and variables. The numerical information or the statistical measurements associated with a huge number of populations are accumulated through surveys, tests, and experiments, quantifying opinions, behaviors, or other variables of the study. What are the variables? Abu Badr presents the label variable as anything that can vary among subjects, events, or objects. He means that it is a character, a score that can change from one subject to another. For Daniel Mugis, variables refer to the characteristics that present differences between specific people or things. They are any characteristics related to the population that the researcher is interested in or wants to collect. Abu Badr points out that quantitative variables are measured using numerical values and thus have numerical meanings or interpretations. They are also known as continuous variables or continuous data. The variables of the quantitative research are measurable, might have a particular relationship, and can be controlled or compared. For example, gender, age, years of education, and number of working hours could be measured as quantitative variables. It is believed that quantitative data can lead to objective results because they are the outcomes of numerical description or statistics. The qualitative approach here requires the existence of a specific research design that could lead to predicting links among variables of the study. When we talk about prediction, the research produces opinions, interpretations, and assumptions for as results. In a scientific study, the variables should be measurable. They should reflect research hypotheses and questions to ensure the possibility of generalizing the findings. Here we can use statistical package of social sciences, which is known as SPSS, Microsoft Excel, and Google Forms to produce or to analyze data that are quantitative or numerical, to examine the relationships among the variables. But in the qualitative approach may lead the researcher to provide less objective results because it can lead to provide assumptions and opinions. We can say that the researcher sometimes becomes the instrument in the qualitative approach. For the mixed approach, it involves methods and techniques from quantitative and qualitative approaches. It analyzes the numerical collected data and provides in-depth information or assumptions. So here we have a mixed methods from the qualitative and the quantitative. In fact, mixed methods research is a flexible approach where the researcher or the research design is determined by what we want to find out rather than by any predetermined epistemological position. The terms population and sample have different meanings. The population of the study refers to the group of individuals to which the researcher wants to generalize the finding. Most of the time, the researcher is obliged to select a specific group of participants to represent the larger group. So the larger group is the population, the small group is the sample. So the sample that represents the larger group. Sampling refers to the process of choosing individuals to interview specific locations or periods or events and activities to observe. It is important to select a larger sample from the population to avoid errors and to provide results that are valid and can be generalized for the whole group, according to Creswell. There are many types of sampling. For example, there is random sampling, non-random sampling, snowball sampling, systematic, and there is the quota sampling also. You will find more details and explanations of many sampling methods and techniques when Athil published this article soon. The questionnaire, tests, interview, and observation can be instruments that are used to collect statistical data within the quantitative approach. The researcher can use ethnography, fieldwork, interviews, observation, and content analysis to collect qualitative data. When the researcher uses the instrument to collect numerical data, he or she is using the quantitative methods or techniques. While when he or she uses procedures to produce assumptions and or opinions, he or she is using qualitative data collection methods or techniques. There are many obstacles that could face a researcher or that a researcher may face while conducting a research. Most of the time, the participants do not have time to answer those long questionnaires. Sometimes the participants are illiterate and the researcher uses a questionnaire that needs to be explained or that he need to explain to the participants. And sometimes he finds himself obliged to write the answers instead of his participants. There are difficulties in conducting interviews and using content analysis, mainly when it is related to media or artificial intelligence data. Sometimes researchers lose their data because of technical problems on their computers or laptops. There is a need to make copies of the research and store them in a safe virtual space, or a memory card or a USB. Here are some conclusions. In a scientific research, the best research should be based on a solid methodology. The process of data collection and the gathered results need to be the outcomes of a suitable theoretical framework that is associated with the scientific methods and well-designed data collection instruments. The research design should indicate the research period, the data collection procedures and methods, the place of the study, the population, and the sample. The variable should be measurable. They should reflect the researcher hypothesis and questions to answer the possibility of generalizing findings. SPSS, Excel, and Google Forms can be useful in data collection and in analyzing the relationships among different variables. Qualitative methods can be used as a complementary to quantitative methods to investigate the connections and links between patterns or concepts in a scientific research. The mixed approach requires a research design that combines quantitative and qualitative approaches reflected in the study, questions, methods, and data collection. There are some important references that you will find in the article, and you can read them later or check them later. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I tried to share with you a short summary of the paper. We will have more time to share other ideas during the discussion. Thank you.
بارك الله فيك